Last night, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania.
In December 2022, police arrested a 28-year-old criminology PhD student for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. Charging him was one thing, convicting him was going to be another. What followed was 2.5 years of legal warfare. The state wanted the death penalty, and Bryan Kohberger was going to make them work for every inch of it. He fought the DNA, he fought the phone records, he fought the car, the eyewitness, the indictment itself, but everything was denied. By the summer of 2025, he was out of arguments, out of appeals, and weeks away from a trial that could have ended with him in front of a firing squad. And then, with almost no warning, he told an Ada County courtroom,
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
This is the full legal journey of Bryan Kohberger. Every motion, every ruling, the deal that stopped the trial, and the 4 families who had to sit and listen to it. And then, in July 2026, from a maximum security prison, he surprised everyone once again.
Breaking just moments ago, the man convicted of murdering 4 University of Idaho students in their college house back in 2022 wants to take back his guilty plea and get a new trial.
So how does a man confess to 4 murders, and then, a year later, say he never did it? And will Bryan Kohberger get the trial he now says he wants? The legal machine that would grind for the next 2.5 years started turning immediately. On the 5th of January, 2023, Bryan Kohberger appeared before a Latter County magistrate, was formally served with the charges, and was denied bail. Whilst held at the county jail while all of this unfolded, Bryan Kohberger left an impression on at least one neighbour in custody. The inmate in the next cell described him as highly intelligent and polite for the most part, but odd in ways that became hard to ignore. Over the weeks they spent side by side, he washed his hands dozens of times a day and could spend nearly an hour at a time in the shower. A sweeping non-dissemination order, a gag order, soon silenced police, prosecutors, defense lawyers, and even lawyers for the families. It would hold, with adjustments, for 2.5 years, and it is a large part of why this case generated so much speculation. The people who knew things were forbidden from speaking. The court appointed Ann Taylor, the Kootenai County Chief Public Defender, and one of only a handful of capital qualified defenders in Idaho, to lead his defense. In May 2023, prosecutors took the case to a grand jury, rather than a public preliminary hearing. On the 17th of May, the grand jury indicted Bryan Kohberger on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. The arraignment on the 22nd of May 2023 before District Judge John Judge was an interesting moment. When asked how he pleaded, Bryan Kohberger said nothing at all. His lawyer told the court he was standing silent.
All rise. Thanks very much. Please be seated. Good morning, everybody. And Ms. Taylor, is Mr. Kohberger prepared to plead to these charges?
Your Honor, we will be standing silent.
Under Idaho law, the judge entered not guilty pleas on his behalf.
Okay, because Mr. Kohberger is standing silent, I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on each charge. Counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
On the 26th of June 2023, the state filed its notice of intent to seek the death penalty, citing multiple aggravating factors, and from that moment, this was a capital case, and Bryan Kohberger, for his part, waived his right to a speedy trial.
Now at this juncture, the state has 60 days to give notice of intention to seek the death penalty, and Mr. Kohberger has a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy trial. So let's start with you, Ms. Taylor, and then Mr. Thompson to discuss scheduling.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court to set this trial at the very outside of the speedy trial, right? We're not prepared to do anything but ask the court to do that today.
What followed the arraignment was 2 years of legal warfare. The state had built its case on 4 pillars: the DNA, the car, the phone, and the eyewitness description. Ann Taylor's defense team set out to knock every one of them down. The first big swing came in the autumn of 2023, and it was aimed at the indictment itself. The defense argued that Idaho's constitution required a grand jury to find guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, not the lower bar of probable cause, and that the whole indictment was therefore built on the wrong standard. They added claims of grand jury bias, inadmissible evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct. Over the following months, Judge John Judge denied all of it, describing the standard of proof argument as historically interesting and creative, but contrary to settled Idaho law. The indictment stood. While the lawyers argued, the house came down. The owner had handed 1122 King Road to the university back in February, and in December, the university's president announced it was time. The building was a grim reminder, and the town needed to move on. Both legal teams had already been through it, the prosecution and the FBI in October, to take measurements and build exhibits, the defense in December with cameras and drones. The county's prosecutor wrote to the university a week before Christmas to say the state anticipated no further use of the premises, and that the interior had changed so much since the murders that a jury would never have been walked through it anyway. The Goncalves and Kernodle families did not accept that. In a joint statement, they called the decision madness, and they were specific about what they thought was being thrown away, what the surviving housemates could and could not have heard through those floors, the path Xana took through the house with her food, what a man sitting outside in a car could actually see. These were things, they wrote, that nobody seemed able to answer. A petition to halt the demolition gathered more than 10,000 signatures. But at 7 in the morning, on the 28th of December 2023, the machines started work. By the end of the day, the house was gone.
The House of Horrors, where 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered, comes crashing down. And a final blow from a giant excavator renders the 6-bedroom house into thousands of pieces of matchwood. Demolition began as dawn broke over the college campus, empty due to the winter holiday break. There was a ghostly light as the massive excavator ripped the one-time party house apart. Within minutes, the house was unrecognizable. Any idea where they're taking the wreckage, and do you get a sense that there's a fear souvenir hunters may go after it?
Sanitation crews are being followed by law enforcement. Law enforcement will actually guard the debris. They didn't say for how long, but yes, they are concerned about morbid souvenir hunters.
The house had been an eyesore in the town of Moscow, Idaho, ever since the murders, and the university was paying $700 a day for around-the-clock security guards. The university says that demolishing the house is the community's first step in healing from this unthinkable trauma. But the demolition has divided the victims' families. Ethan Chapin's family supports it, but Kaylee Goncalves and Xana Kernodle's loved ones expressed strong opposition. How is the family feeling now? How upset are they?
They're pretty upset. I mean, it's one of those things when you don't really think it's going to happen until it happens. And so watching the demo on television was pretty hard for the victims' families.
After 90 minutes, the notorious house was gone. Now, a grim memory, but the horror of what happened there remains.
The next front was the DNA, and here the defense had real questions. They did not seriously dispute that the sheath profile matched their client. Instead, they asked what science alone cannot answer. When and how did a few skin cells get onto a snap fastener? Touch DNA is transferable, and they went hard at the genealogy. The FBI had uploaded the crime scene profile to consumer databases, whose users had never consented to police searches beyond what interim federal policy contemplated, and had then, the defense argued, buried the details. They fought for over a year to see the full genealogy file, and in January 2024, the judge granted the defense access to key portions of it under a strict protective order. Then, in April 2024, came the case's single most intriguing document, the alibi notice. Bryan Kohberger, it said, had been where his phone data suggested, out driving alone in the small hours, because in the filing's words, he was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did to hike and run and see the moon and stars, and his drive had taken him south of Pullman and west of Moscow, towards Wawawai Park on the Snake River, in the opposite direction from King Road. A cell data expert, Cy Ray, would testify that the phone records showed the phone south and west, and did not show it traveling east on the Moscow-Pullman highway that night. The obvious problem, which prosecutors pointed out, was the 2-hour hole. No data at all between 2:47 and 4:48 a.m., and no witness, camera, receipt, or record placing him at any park. Cy Ray disputed the starting point itself. His reading put the disconnection at 2:54 and had the phone still talking to the tower covering Bryan's own apartment when it dropped, rather than one on a route heading east toward Moscow. That summer, the fight moved to geography. The defense's experts presented surveys showing that in tiny Latta County, where everyone knew someone touched by the case, huge majorities had prejudged guilt, and some respondents spoke openly of vigilante justice. The courthouse was too small and the sheriff's office too thin to secure a month-long capital trial. In September 2024, Judge John Judge agreed, finding a reasonable likelihood that the coverage would compromise a fair trial, and the Idaho Supreme Court moved the case 300 miles south to Boise. With the new city came a new judge, Ada County District Judge Stephen Hippler, and a new home for Bryan Kohberger in the Ada County Jail. In November 2024, Judge Hippler denied the defense's constitutional challenges to the death penalty, 12 separate motions in all, including an argument that Idaho's methods of execution, lethal injection, or firing squad were themselves cruel and unusual, a botched execution attempt on death row inmate Thomas Creech in February 2024, when medical staff couldn't even establish an IV line, had left Idaho's lethal injection protocol in visible disarray, and the firing squad was, at that point, not yet a functioning option either.
Serial killer Thomas Creech lives another day. The state was supposed to execute the 73-year-old at 10 a.m., but medical staff wasn't able to get an IV in him.
This would be the first unsuccessful execution in Idaho history. Creech is convicted of 5 murders in 3 states, including 3 here in Idaho.
However, Judge Hippler ruled it was too soon to decide. Bryan Kohberger, if convicted, could be on death row for a decade before the method mattered. But months later, in March 2025, Idaho would resolve the question itself, making the firing squad the state's primary method of execution, the first state in the country to do so.
Starting July 1st, Idaho's main execution method will be a firing squad. The Department of Corrections released some new protocols for this. The firing squad will be made up of volunteers who have held a post-peace officer certification for at least 3 years. They must approve firearm proficiency as well, and that includes shooting a firearm at least 21 feet away with 100% accuracy. There will be 3 team members. They will use a .308 caliber rifle. 1 live round will be loaded in 3 separate magazines for each rifle. The Department of Corrections says the person being executed will be offered a mild sedative and restrained in a chair. Participation by corrections staff is voluntary, and they may withdraw at any time. The firing squad facility is currently under construction. It should be finished by July 1st.
February 2025 brought the decisive month. On the 19th, Judge Hippler handed down a series of written rulings, and he denied every single suppression motion the defense had filed. He ruled that no constitutional violation had occurred with the DNA and the genealogy search, and that Bryan Kohberger had no reasonable expectation of privacy in DNA he had left behind on a knife sheath at the murder scene. The phone records were allowed to stand. So were the warrants, covering his Google account, his Apple account, his Amazon orders, the searches of his parents' house in Pennsylvania, his apartment, his office, and his car. The defense played its last structural card the same month, a motion arguing that Bryan's autism spectrum disorder diagnosis, described in filings as mild and without intellectual impairment, made the death penalty unconstitutional in his case. In April, Judge Hippler denied that too. Autism is not a categorical bar to capital punishment, and the diagnosis would stay out of the guilt phase unless Bryan himself took the stand. The judge noted that the man he had watched in court for months was, by all appearances, highly functioning. March 2025 brought the smaller disputes. The defense pressed the car evidence, pointing out that the public had been told to look for a 2011 to 2013 Elantra, while their client drove a 2015, and questioned whether grainy night footage could truly identify any specific vehicle, let alone one with no visible front plate. In the same period, prosecution filings disclosed the March 2022 Amazon purchase of a K-bar knife, sheath, and sharpener. In April, Judge Hippler ruled on the roommate's testimony too. Dylan could describe exactly what she saw, including the phrase bushy eyebrows, a few seconds of sighting in the dark, through fear, above a mask, but relevant enough for a jury to hear. In the middle of all this, a woman came forward, saying she was the DoorDash driver who had delivered Xana's food that morning, and that she'd seen more than anyone realized. The claim first surfaced almost by accident, caught on a police body cam during an unrelated traffic stop nearly 2 years after the murders, when she told the booking officer, unprompted, that she recognized the case.
You what? I'm supposed to testify against Bryan next year. Bryan? Yes, I killed all the girls over Moscow. Well, this won't change any of that. Oh. You lying on my record? Well, no. I think they would be more concerned about the drug use than the DUI. Yeah. And then now I have to testify. Make part of his here, so yeah, because I'm like, we're that driver, so yeah.
You have to testify in which murder?
Murder case for Hallsborough.
Oh.
I'm a DoorDash driver, I saw Bryan there.
Prosecutors added her to their witness list, but it was never tested in court, and with a non-dissemination order in place, police and prosecutors would say nothing to confirm or deny it either way. Then, on the 9th of May 2025, weeks before jury selection, the case sprang a leak. An NBC Dateline episode aired material nobody outside the case should have had. Bryan Kohberger's internet search history, including searches related to Ted Bundy and pornography, and cell tower data, placing his phone near the crime scene 23 times. Judge Hippler was furious. He ordered both sides to hand over lists of everyone with access to the leaked material, raised the prospect of a special prosecutor, and warned that the breach, an apparent violation of the gag order, could taint the jury pool and delay justice. And in June came the last stand. The defense asked to delay the trial, citing the leak and a mountain of unreviewed discovery, and asked to point the jury towards 4 alternate perpetrators. On the 27th of June, Judge Hippler said no to both. The alternate perpetrator theory, he ruled, was speculation without a shred of evidence connecting any of the 4 to the crime. Jury selection would begin in Boise within weeks. It had been 2 years of motions. Every pillar of the state's case had been attacked, and every attack had been turned back. By the end of June 2025, Bryan Kohberger was out of arguments, and he was facing a trial that could end in a death sentence. And 3 days later, everything stopped. On the evening of Sunday, the 29th of June 2025, the victims' families received letters from the Latah County Prosecutor's Office. Some of them, by their own account, had had barely a day's warning that anything was moving. The letter said that Bryan Kohberger had agreed to plead guilty to everything. 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of burglary. In exchange, the state would withdraw the death penalty. He would be sentenced to 4 consecutive fixed life terms, plus the 10-year maximum for burglary, with no possibility of parole, and he would waive his rights to appeal. The letter read, "We cannot fathom the toll that this case has taken on your family. This resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, and will not be able to put you and the other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals." Prosecutors framed it as certainty. No trial, no decades of capital appeals, no risk of a hung jury or a technicality, no crime scene photographs projected in front of parents. The families would never again have to share a courtroom with him after the summer. Kaylee's family was furious. They had wanted the death penalty from the first week, and they felt blindsided and used. Within hours they posted, "We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us." They said that when prosecutors had sounded them out about a deal the previous Friday, they had given a hard no, and that the state had signed it anyway. Kaylee's father Steve called the process a betrayal. The Mogen and Chapin families saw it differently. Ben Mogen told reporters that a trial and the appeals that would follow meant reliving the worst thing in his life for decades, and that the deal meant closure. He said, "We can actually put this behind us and not have these future dates and future things that we don't want to have to be at." They also put out a statement, and it read in part, "The plea deal the prosecution has proposed is one that punishes the perpetrator of this horrendous crime, protects the public from further harm, and allows all of us who knew and loved these 4 young people the time to grieve, without the anxiety of the long and gruesome trial, years of appeals and potential for mistrials along the way." The Chapins issued a statement supporting the agreement. They described the whole situation as a tough pill to swallow, but said they believed the outcome was the right one. So finally, on the 2nd of July, 2025, Bryan Kohberger was brought into a Boise courtroom to say for the first time what he had done. Three days before he entered that plea, a filing tied to his competency disclosed that he had been diagnosed that February with 4 separate conditions: autism spectrum disorder, level 1 obsessive-compulsive disorder, ADHD, and ARFID, an eating disorder that restricts the range of food a person can tolerate eating. The change of plea hearing on Wednesday, the 2nd of July, 2025, lasted about an hour. Judge Stephen Hippler began with the colloquy, the formal questioning that ensures a plea is knowing and voluntary.
All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. I have a written plea agreement which indicates, in sum, the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment: burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include, on count 1, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with, that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
As I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone, other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
And Mr. Kohberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
Judge Hippler then named each victim, one by one, victim by victim.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Goncalves, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Then Latter County prosecutor Bill Thompson rose to give the factual basis, the state's account of what it would have proven at trial.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
He walked through the DNA on the sheath, the Elantra's circling passes, and 4:20 a.m. flight, the phone's 2-hour silence, and its return to the tower by the house at 9 o'clock the next morning, the March 2022 Amazon purchase, the car cleaned so thoroughly that even the door pockets were spotless. And he said 2 things that would define this case forever. First, investigators had found no connection whatsoever between Bryan Kohberger and his victims. None. Second, on the question of intent, County Prosecutor Bill Thompson was scrupulous. The state believed Bryan Kohberger entered the house that night intending to kill, but he told the court, "We will not represent that he intended to commit all the murders." The evidence suggested he encountered Xana, awake with her DoorDash order, and killed her too. Whether he came for one person, and if so, which one, the prosecutor of the case declined to claim he knew. No motive was offered. The plea agreement did not require one, and Bryan Kohberger volunteered nothing. Judge Hippler accepted the pleas, found them knowing and voluntary, and set sentencing for 3 weeks later.
Based on the state's proffer and, importantly, based upon defendants' explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Goncalves, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. Because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning.
Outside, Kaylee's father, Steve, told cameras the state had made a deal with the devil.
The judge could hear one thought from you that he should remember. What is it?
He's going to own this. He's going to inherit what Thompson did, and he's the only one that can fix it. He's the only one who can make it right. One man shouldn't decide what 4 souls are worth.
You said they made a deal with the devil?
Well, yeah, they did.
What is
That's Thompson. Thompson made a deal with Kohberger.
Ben Mogen, Maddie's father, said he could finally begin to breathe. On Wednesday, the 23rd of July 2025, at the Ada County Courthouse in Boise, the hearing lasted most of the day, and it belonged, at last, not to the defendant, but to the people he had hurt. One by one, for close to 3 hours, the families and survivors walked to a podium a few feet from Bryan Kohberger and told him what he had taken. It began with the surviving housemates. Bethany's statement was read for her by her friend Emily Allant, describing the terror of that morning and the guilt she still carries for not calling sooner.
Never in a million years would I have thought that something like this would have happened to my closest friends. I thought that we were going to wake up and go upstairs, see them and tell them how they had scared us and that they were going to tease us about how we are constantly scaredy cats and make jokes about it as we would go to Taco Bell like always. But sadly, that is not what happened and what turned out to be my worst nightmare. When I first woke up that morning, I had no idea what happened. I woke up around 7 with a terrible toothache. So I called my dad, who is a dentist, and he asked what I should do. He told me to take Advil, so I did, and I went back to sleep. I was still out of it and still didn't know what happened. If I had known, I of course would have called 911 right away. I still carry some guilt for not knowing what had happened and not calling right away, even though I understand it wouldn't have changed anything. Not even if the paramedics had been right outside the door. I was so frantic that morning and scared to death, not knowing what had happened. And when I made the 911 call, I couldn't even get out the words. And from then on, I don't remember a thing. It was like my brain wiped that whole memory. That was the worst day of my life, and I know it always will be. While I was still in shock, trying to process the fact that my friends were truly gone, I had been attacked by the public. I was grieving, numb, and unsure of what had happened was even real. And at the same time, I was getting flooded with death threats and hateful messages from people who did not know me at all or know the dynamic of our friendship. Social media made it so much worse, and strangers made up stories to entertain themselves. The media harassed not just me, but also my family. People showed up at our house. They called my phone, my parents' phones, other family members' phones, and we were chased while I was still trying to survive emotionally and grieve the loss of my friends. I hated and still hate that they are gone, but for some reason, I am still here and I got to live. I still think about this every day. Why me? Why did I get to live and not them? For the longest time, I could not even look at their families without feeling sick with guilt. I did not know what to say or what to do. I was terrified that my presence just made their pain worse. And I was still here when their kid, their siblings and their friends, their loved ones should have been here instead. After everything happened, I was afraid to go into my own backyard or alone in my house. I was scared that the person who did this would come for me next. I was always scared that the media would try to catch me at any moment of any day, even when I was just walking around my house. I made my parents close all the blinds during the day so no one could see me even in the slightest chance. I barely left the house, and when I did, I made sure I was never alone. I slept in my parents' room for almost a year. I made them double lock every door, set an alarm, and still check everywhere in the room just in case someone was hiding. And I still check my room every night before, and I double lock it. I have not slept through a single night since this happened. I constantly wake up in panics, terrified. Someone is breaking in, or someone is here to hurt me, or I'm about to lose someone else that I love. The fear never really leaves. For a long time, I could barely get out of bed, but one day I realized I have to live for them. They did not get the chance to keep living, but I do, and I will not take that for granted. So now every day I remind myself to live for them, and everything I do it with them in mind. I am still scared to go out in public, but I force myself to do things because I know that they would want me to keep living my life to the fullest. I am beyond blessed to still be here, and I refuse to take that for granted when they did not get a chance. Our house was not just a house, it was a home. It was where we laughed till we couldn't breathe, make meals, did crafts, binge-watch reality shows, played games, and spent lazy days on the couch. It was movie nights, wine nights, morning debriefs, pranks, hot chocolate, cookies, and warmth. I will cherish those memories forever, and I will not let what happened erase how special our home was or how much those memories meant to me. I am beyond blessed that I had the chance to know each and every one of them. They changed my life in ways I would have never put into words, and they deserve to be remembered in the highest way. My heart breaks every time I go to text one of them or how badly I wish I could see and hang out with them. And then I remember I cannot and will never be able to again. But I still talk to them in my prayers every single night, and I always will. I wish more than anything I could hug them one last time, and I wish I could tell them how much I love them. And even though I cannot, I still tell them every night. I will keep living for them as long as I am lucky enough to still be here. And they were all truly one of a kind, and they will be in our hearts forever and always.
Then Dylan Mortensen. She spoke about the panic attacks, the hypervigilance, and what she now believes him to be.
What happened that night changed everything. Because of him, 4 beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world for no reason. He didn't just take their lives. He took the light they carried into every room. He took away how they made everyone feel loved and full of joy. He took away the ability for me to tell them that I love them and that I'm so proud of them. He took away who they were becoming and the futures they were going to have. He took away birthdays, graduations, celebrations, and all the memories that we were supposed to make. All of it is gone. And all the people who loved them are just left to carry that weight forever. He didn't just take them from the world. He took them from me, my friends, my people who felt like my home, the people I looked up to and adored more than anyone. He took away my ability to trust the world around me. What he did shattered me. in places I didn't know could break. I was barely 19 when he did this. We had just celebrated my birthday at the end of September. I should have been figuring out who I was. I should have been having the college experience and starting to establish my future. Instead, I was forced to learn how to survive the unimaginable. I couldn't be alone. I had to sleep in my mom's bed because I was too terrified to close my eyes. Terrified that if I blinked, someone might be there. I made escape plans everywhere I went. If something happens, how do I get out? What can I use to defend myself? Who can help? And then there are the panic attacks. The kind that slam into me like a tsunami out of nowhere. I can't breathe. I can't think. I can't stop shaking. All I can do is scream because the emotional pain and the grief is too much to handle. My chest feels like it's caving in. Sometimes I drop to the floor with my heart racing, convinced something is very wrong. It's far beyond anxiety. It's my body reliving everything over and over again. My nervous system never got the message that it is over, and it won't let me forget what he did to them. People call me strong. They say I'm a survivor, but they don't see what my new reality looks like. They don't see the panic attacks, the hypervigilance, the exhaustion, the way I scan every room I enter, the way I flinch at sudden sounds. They don't know how heavy it is to carry so much pain and still be expected to keep going, and that's because of him. He stole parts of me I may never get back. He took the version of me who didn't constantly ask, what if it happens again? What if next time I don't survive? He may have shattered parts of me, but I'm still putting myself back together. Piece by piece, I'm learning how to live in this new version of life. It is not easy. It hurts, but I'm still trying. And I'm not trying just for me. I'm trying for them, my friends. About a year ago, I had a dream about them. I got to say goodbye. I told them I won't be able to see you again, so I need to tell you goodbye. They all kept asking why, and all I could say was, I can't tell you, but I have to. When I woke up, I felt shattered and heartbroken, but also strangely grateful. Like maybe in some way that dream gave us the goodbye we never got. Still, no dream can replace them, and no goodbye will ever feel finished. He is a hollow vessel, something less than human, a body without empathy, without remorse. He chose destruction. He chose evil. He feels nothing. He tried to take everything from me. My friends, my safety, my identity, my future. He took their lives, but I will continue trying to be like them, to make them proud. Living is how I honor them. Speaking today is to help me find some sort of justice for them, and I will never let him take that from me. He may have taken so much from me, but he will never get to take my voice. He will never take the memories I had with them. He will never erase the love we shared, the laughs we had, or the way they made me feel seen and whole. Those things are mine. They are sacred, and he will never touch them. I get to feel sadness. I get to feel rage. I get to feel joy even when it's hard. I get to feel love even when it hurts. I get to live. And while I will still live with this pain, at least I get to live my life. He will stay here, empty, forgotten, and powerless.
Xana's family spoke next. Her aunt stunned the room with an offer of forgiveness and something more, a standing invitation for Bryan Kohberger to explain himself to her directly.
My name is Kim Kernodle. I am Xana's aunt. I was very blessed to have her in my life, in our family. And I thought I had everything in my head, what I wanted to say, but it kind of went out. And I'm always looking for the positive thing, because evil, hate, can destroy people. And that's what it started doing with our family. It created anger with our family members. And then I had to look, because Xana was everything that the media, her friends said. She was that fun, loving, high-spirited, beautiful person. And I no longer get to get my nails done with her, have lunch with her. But how I look at it now is this tragedy, this horrible tragedy on all of the 4 children has brought us closer. You united us with your actions. We're united now, and we're stronger than ever. We have family and friends now that we never knew we had. And, this is probably going to bother everybody, but Bryan, I'm here today to tell you I have forgiven you, because I no longer could live with that hate in my heart. And for me to become a better person, I have forgiven you. And anytime you want to talk and tell me what happened, get my number. I'm here. No, because I do have answers or questions that I want you to answer. And I'm here. I'll be that one that'll listen to you. Okay?
Her mother, Cara Northington, spoke of her own act of faith in forgiving him and of everything she refused to give him in return.
Today I stand before you, the man who is responsible for murdering my beautiful daughter, Xana Kernodle. My daughter was beautiful both inside and out. She possessed love for those around her and had a light so bright it will live on forever in our hearts. She brought joy and laughter to her friends, her family, and anyone in her presence. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, now has her in his loving arms in heaven, where she can never be harmed ever again, for eternity. Because of her, I came to know my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Because of her, many will come to Christ. It is Christ who lives in me that has given me the strength to forgive you. It was of no power of my own. In return, the Lord has filled me with joy, hope, and peace that surpasses all understanding. Jesus has allowed me to forgive you for murdering my daughter without you even being sorry or asking for this. This is only possible because he who lives in me is greater than any evil in this world. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. I do not fear you or even let you rent space in my head anymore. This forgiveness has released me from any and all evil you have inflicted on me and my family. It has allowed me to let our Lord deal with you. You have accepted a deal that will prevent you from receiving the death penalty. Nothing man can do to you can ever compare to the wrath of God. Inevitably, you will stand before our Lord and will have to answer to him over the sins you have committed in murdering our children. I pray you come to the end of yourself before that day. Whether you like it or not, heaven is for real and so is hell. The innocent life of Xana that you stole from myself and my family and the destruction it has caused, I am washing my hands of you and turning you over to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, whom vengeance belongs to. In closing, I want to read a passage from the Bible, Ephesians 6, King James Version. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, and then in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, that ye may be able to stand in the evil day. I'm not going to share memories of Xana or any more of the goodness of her with you, because I do not want that to be in your head. I don't want it to be in your head. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve our good memories that we have. I do pray for you. I pray that you come to the end of yourself. I pray that before this life is over, that you ask our Lord and Savior in your heart and to forgive you. I do pray for that. But after today, I wash my hands of you, and you are no longer a thing.
Her father, Jeff Kernodle, remembered a daughter who called to check on him most nights, including the night she died.
It's been a hard road down, because she's gone. I want to thank everybody, other their families that speaking so far, spoke about things. I agree with everything they have to say. It all comes back to a lot of the same things that I've had to deal with and we as a family have had to deal with. I miss Xana a lot. My life's been changed, and Xana had a great impact on me. And the impact was when she was gone, I realized how important she was and what she really did for me, influenced me, was way beyond what I ever thought. She'd call me up on the weekends, check on me, see who's with me. She's like accountability to your youngest daughter. That really made a big difference. It made me really think about things and what it's all about, you know. She made a big impact on me, on other people, her family, but the impact that she made is so extensive on what happened here, and it goes so far. People from everywhere in the world, you know, are following things, and Xana has made a difference in their lives. So, you know, countless people, they might not even know her. They never knew anything about her. It's what they see. They just love her and say how they wish she could have been their friend. You know, we worked hard to do the things we did, you know, through the times they were growing up. Through those times, I realized that I wanted both of them to graduate college, and that'd be the ultimate thing for them to do to prepare for the world. Then it came back to me, Xana didn't get to finish college. She had it all figured out. And then I just realized and thought to myself about the wonderful life that she had and we had together. And we, you know, I still get to have with Jazzmin, but that's the part that really counted. It's the part that really counted is those memories. And those are what I have left, the memories with her and the ones with her and the ones I can make with her and the life that I can go on with now, which is what she wants. All I know is I was 7 miles away when it happened, and she wasn't feeling that good. It was 11:30, and I almost went over to Susanna's to say, and I would have been sitting right there on that couch, and you had to deal with me. So they would have had a chance, and I regret that, and I regret not going. But the reason why I didn't is because Xana said, don't be drinking and driving. You have to rental a car, don't be drinking and driving, you know, the week before that. So she was, she would have been mad at me to do that. But I really wish I would have drunk and drove, you know, because they would have had a chance, all four of them. I just have to go on. We're going to go on with everything and make things better in my life, because that's what it's all about. About closure in things. And the part that we miss is Xana influence, her smile, the things that she did. And we have the memories left, the great memories. And she just wants us to make more memories and not be sad or upset or shocked or taken for that, you know? And that's what we're gonna do. We just have to. That's all I got.
Her sister Jazzmin spoke about a girl who was kind and funny and everyone's best friend, and told the room that whatever he had done, he had not put out her light.
I went back and forth on whether to speak today, because the truth is, you don't deserve power over my feelings, my words, or me. In the end, I realized this moment isn't about you. It's about justice for Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie. It's about honoring the beautiful people they were and still are in God's eyes. On November 13th, 2022, a piece of my heart was ripped away. There's no way to ever fully describe the weight of losing my sister, my best friend. No sentence or punishment will ever come close to the justice Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie deserve. Xana was everyone's best friend. She was kind, she was funny. She was a gift to each person she was able to make an impact on. Xana was someone I turned to when I needed direction or advice. Although I am her older sister, I often found myself. She had a radiant energy that everyone loved, and she always knew the right way to approach a problem. She knew how precious and special life was, and she truly did live every day to the fullest. Yet her story was cut short by an act of evil. I believe in a God whose justice is not bound by this courtroom. I find peace knowing that judgment ultimately belongs to him. For your sake, I hope one day you feel the full weight of what you did. I hope you take accountability. I hope you truly experience the guilt and you surrender yourself to Jesus Christ. Because no punishment on this earth can ever compare to the isolation and pain of eternal separation from God. Xana deserved more. They all did. But I come here to say this. I am strong. I am brave. I'm a fighter, just like Xana. And you don't get to control how I move forward or what I believe. I walk with the comfort of knowing I will see my sister again. Xana didn't get the future she deserved. She won't be the maid of honor at my wedding, the cool aunt to my future children. I'll never hear her laugh or see her light up a room ever again, but I will carry her with me for the rest of my life. I will live in her honor, fight to be the best kind of woman and someone she's proud of, to make sure the world never forgets who she was. Xana's story doesn't end with what was taken from her. It lives through the love she gave, the people she touched, and the legacy our family will protect. Her light still shines, and her voice will echo louder than this pain. You didn't take that from us, and you never will.
Her uncle Stratton spoke briefly too.
Sitting here today listening to all the stories and feelings and feeling the pain from everybody is a pretty powerful thing. It's each time a statement was read, it sort of would tug into my center core as I felt everybody's anguish. Xana meant a lot to us, and we loved her very much. But I started thinking about rehashing everything that everybody else has talked about. I wanted to direct it another direction toward Bryan and what he's done to his family, his parents, his siblings, his friends, his universe. He has contaminated, tainted their family name, and pretty much made a horrible, miserable thing to be ever related to him. And I know that that's what he has to live with, and that has to be his pain. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And her stepfather, Randy Davis, offered no forgiveness at all, telling Bryan exactly where he believed he was going.
I just feel the same way we all do. All of us are united because of something that happened. And I'm grateful to know and have met some new family because of this awful event. But this is probably the last time we're all going to be in the same room together. Let's be real. So I can say, I love you all, and I feel your pain, and just God bless us all, you know? Just get through it. I had stuff wrote up. It was probably best I didn't read it out. Probably get kicked out of here, so I'll share one thing to you guys, not to you, with Xana. I was working in North Dakota and came home, and Jazzy and Xana had taken our son Elijah and put him in a dress, makeup, and it was awful, you know. I was like, I don't know. She was funny. I told her she'd be in the movies and be somebody great one day like that, and now she is just above us as an angel with all the other beautiful kids. So let's hold that to our hearts, because this evil thing is not going to take nothing from us. You, man, I don't know what my limits are here, but I'm really struggling, dude. I am struggling, so I want to just be out in the woods with you, just so I can teach you about loss and pain. I love God. I wouldn't take your life. That's up to Him. But I guarantee you are weak. God, I would just give a moment, man. 5 minutes out in the woods. Oh, man. You're going to go to hell. I know people believe in other stuff. You're evil. There's no place for you in heaven. You took our children. You are going to suffer, man. I'm shaking because I want to reach out to you, but I hope you feel my energy, okay? Oh.
For Maddie, her stepfather Scott Laramie spoke for himself, and her mother Karen, refusing to give evil any more of their time.
Maddie was our gift of life, our purpose, and our hope. Maddie quickly became Karen's joy, identity, and purpose in life. I joined Maddie's life when she was 2.5 years old. Experience transformed me into a life of joy, love, and family. Maddie was bright, beautiful, kind, empathic. She listened carefully to others and was observant, seeing and caring about the hearts and the minds of all she encountered. She loved music and music festivals. She had a wonderful sense of humor. She excelled in school. She was an easy child to raise, almost never requiring discipline, and almost always giving us us parental joy. One time Karen remembers disciplining Maddie as a little girl. Maddie responded, "You broke my heart," which of course melted ours. She had a keen wit, even at that young age. As she transitioned into teenage years, she prioritized us and extended family over many of the distractions that capture teenagers. She showered us with her presence and love at family events, barbecues, picnics, birthdays, holidays, and others. She spent countless hours with her papa and her other close family and friends. This world was a better place with her in it. As she reached adulthood, Maddie applied her studies to be a marketing professional, entering into an internship at Payne West, and started planning her professional future. As with all things, she involved Karen and myself in the joy of her journey. As she transitioned into womanhood, Karen and I continued to be astounded at this wonderful and accomplished person we had created. All parents dream of their children accomplishing more than them. We realized this dream. All we had not become, she was becoming. Karen and I are ordinary people, but we lived extraordinary lives because we had Maddie. Maddie was taken senselessly and brutally in a sudden act of evil. She was taken along with the young, promising, and bright lives of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. First we felt disbelief, next we felt disorientation, then we felt grief overcome us. Our grief is compounded even more for the Goncalves, Kernodle, and Chapin families. We speak of hope and healing, and we do have hope and some healing, but the vast emotional wound will never fully heal. Since Maddie's loss, there's emptiness in our hearts, home, and family, an endless void. After losing her mother in a car crash, Karen took years to grieve and recover. The feeling that her life with Maddie and A was perfect helped her to start to heal. Now, this is no longer perfect. After Maddie's loss, Karen felt like she was spinning out emotionally collapsing into anxiety and depression. She sometimes asks, "How am I supposed to go on when I've lost my favorite person in the world?" I felt the same, and we continue to struggle. The loss of Maddie has impacted so many beyond our family. Her second family is her sorority sisters who grieve alongside us. She has so many close friends who suffer from her loss. Her loss will continue to be felt by the Vandal community, including Vandal Solutions on campus, where she volunteered her time for others. It helps us to know Maddie is in heaven now, freed from the trials of this earth. We, however, continue to live on without the grace and support of her presence. We will grow old without our only child. In the end, there are no words that can accurately capture the devastation of losing Maddie. We will endure, and we will go on. For Maddie, we will not let our grief consume us. For Maddie, we will continue to love and care for our family and friends, including the families of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. We will remain united with them. We can only hope that others out there suffering similar losses can look to us and see that we can overcome hatred, darkness, and evil. We know the law allows us to comment on the defendant and his sentence. As for his sentence, we support the plea agreement. Society needs to be protected against this evil. As for the defendant, we will not waste words, nor will we fall into hatred and bitterness. Evil has many faces, and we now know this, but evil does not deserve our time and attention. We are done being victims. We are taking back our lives. We will turn our time, talents, and attention to hope, healing, and helping others, and to the future. We invite all those who have suffered with us on this to join us in our journey. We can make this world a better place. We can move on from tragedy. Adversity will visit us. Evil will visit us, but we will overcome. We can and will endure.
Then her father, Ben Mogen, he simply read her last Father's Day card aloud and let it stand as the measure of what was gone.
Maddie was my only child that I ever had. She's the only great thing I ever really did, and the only thing I was really ever proud of. And I thought we would have the rest of our lives together to be together and to know each other, and I took for granted the times, she was in college, and I thought, oh, well, we'll have the rest of our lives to do all the stuff that we're supposed to do, and she was just about done. She actually earned all of her credits for her college degree, and Karen and Scotty and I got to go and get her diploma that she actually earned, and she deserved every bit of that. And but I thought that was going to be just the beginning of a long life together, and we never got that. But we got to spend a lot of great times together, Maddie and I. She was my favorite person to go to a concert with. We got to see some fun shows together, and my favorite memory with her was when the Mac Miller show sold out here in Spokane, and tickets, no one could get them, and on the last day before the show, they did a radio thing, and I got 4 meet and greet tickets for Maddie and her friends and me to go and see the show, and that was her favorite artist at the time, was Mac Miller, and he's gone now too, and my little cousin Zach drove us all there that night, and he's gone too, tragically. And yeah, last thing that she ever wrote to me was this Father's Day card, and I'm so glad I still have it. I'm just going to read what she said. It says, "Happy Father's Day. I hope you have the best day. I can't wait till we can hang out again soon. I'll be in Coeur d'Alene, 6:24 to 7:04. Hopefully we can find a time then. I love your birthday card that you sent me, by the way. Maybe we can see a concert sometime soon. I'd love to see the gorge when it's not so smoky out. I hope you're doing well. I'm proud of how far you've come. Thank you for always encouraging me to do my best. Love you lots and lots. Love, Maddie May." She did encourage me to not just to do my best, but to live on. I went through a lot of issues with addiction and with abuse, and when I wasn't wanting to live anymore, she was what would keep me from just not caring anymore, and knowing that she was out there and that she was just such a beautiful person kept me alive a lot of rough moments, and I'll never be able to replace her. I wrote a bunch of stuff. I just don't know what to say right now. I just miss her so much, and I just love her. I just love you, Maddie, and I wish you were still here.
Thank you so much.
Her grandmother, Kim Cheeley, also spoke. She talked about the necklace Maddie had given her, with both their names engraved on it, and the angel wing she added to it afterwards. She said her heart ached for the surviving housemates, for the other families, and for the family of the man sitting across the room.
Maddie was my first grandchild, so when she was born, all her grandparents had the distinct pleasure of deciding what we'd like to be called. I chose Nana, pretty original. But when Maddie was about 1.5 years old, her papa, Ben's dad, and I were planning to visit the new little family in Oregon. Maddie didn't have an extensive vocabulary at the time, but for some unknown reason, she called bananas ba-deedle-deedles. When Karen and Ben told her Nana was coming to visit, she figured I say deedle-deedle for that word. So I became Deedle-Deedle, shortened to Deedle when she was about 6 or 7, and I was Deedle all her life. Maddie's and my birthdays were 1 day apart, and a couple years before she was killed, she gave me this necklace with Deedle and Maddie engraved on it, and I added an angel wing, and it's one of my treasured possessions. I also got an angel wing tattoo. Never thought I'd see the day, but along with many members of our family, replicating the one that Maddie and her sorority sisters had. I wanted mine where I could see and touch it often. When the 4 kids were murdered, the foundation fell out of our world. Initially, the fear was truly debilitating. The first 6 weeks were excruciating. Despite the vigils, memorials, candlelight gatherings of students, friends, family, community members. After the arrest, in the past 2.5 years, my family has lived with grief, with the effects of traumatic grief, of which I was blissfully unaware before all of this. I now have a stack of books on grief. I've attended grief classes at hospice. I've tried EMDR, a technique that helps replace disturbing visions with something more comforting. My son Ben, his 2 sisters, Maddie's aunts, and I have all experienced depression and anxiety and sleep disturbance, requiring medical intervention at times. We've all sought counseling off and on. Some days it's beyond me how the parents of these kids are still upright. I'm thankful for the strong families and communities that are supporting the survivors. So we've all lost our dear child and a future with her. I ache for the loss of the dreams that she and her true love, Jake, held. And my heart goes out to Karen and Scotty and your side of Maddie's family. You've had more than your share of loss. My heart aches for the kids' roommates and the families of the other victims, and also the family of the perpetrator. Going forward, we Mogens are choosing to put our energy and focus into honoring Maddie's too short life and sweet spirit by celebrating Maddie May Day, which my 2 daughters established. On May 25th each year, Maddie's birthday, we encourage folks to do random acts of kindness in Maddie's name. In my daughter Katie's words, may we all protect our peace in whatever way possible, unite in community, and focus on joy. Please do an act in kindness in Maddie's honor during this week, so a glimmer of Maddie's light may live on.
And then came Kaylee's family, who had opposed the deal and who came to fight. Her mother, Kristi, did not spare him. She called him devoid of humanity and pathetic. He had stolen her peace, she said, and altered every waking moment and every sleepless night. The way she saw the world, people, safety, trust, all of it changed by his cruelty. She told him she was disappointed the firing squad would not get to take their shots at him. Then she told him what he was now, the property of the state of Idaho.
I never imagined having to speak to someone so devoid of humanity. For a long time, I didn't think I'd find the words low enough to meet you where you are. But now I realize this isn't about you. It's about what you've done to me, and I need you to hear it. When you murdered my daughter, Kaylee J. Goncalves, you didn't just take her life. You shattered others. You attacked what you could never be. And in doing so, you left a trail of devastation far beyond that house. You stole my peace. You've altered my every waking moment, every sleepless night. The way I view the world, people, safety, trust, it's all been changed by your cruelty. I no longer recognize parts of myself. Joy is harder to find. Laughter feels foreign. The world moves forward, but I'm suspended in a place of sorrow and rage. From me, something that can never be restored. The grief sits with me every day, some days quietly, and other days so loud it drowns out everything else. The emotional toll you've inflicted on me is immeasurable. I live with a constant ache, with birthdays that are now memorials, with holidays that feel hollow, with empty chairs that scream louder than words ever could. I am forever changed. But for you, as a person working on a PhD in criminal justice, you really didn't think this one through. You're not that good. In fact, you're not that good at anything. You couldn't secure a job. You couldn't get along with others. You couldn't even get a female to look in your direction. All because you are pathetic. Now you're a joke in this courtroom. I wish I could crown you with a jester hat to complete your orange jumpsuit clown look. A dead killer doesn't kill again. So while I'm disappointed the firing squad won't get to take their shots at you, I'm confident that the men in prison will have their way with you in more ways than one. You will finally get what you wanted. physical touch. Just probably not how you were expecting it. See, you haven't beat the system. You've simply entered a new one, where the rules are cruel and the consequences will never end. You are entering a place where no one will care who you are and no one will ever respect you. You will be forgotten, discarded, used, and erased. You will always be remembered as a loser, an absolute failure. And when those prison doors slam shut behind you, I hope that sound echoes in your heart for the rest of your meaningless days. I hope it reminds you of what we all already know. You're nothing. May you continue to live your life in misery. You are officially the property of the state of Idaho, where your fellow inmates are anxiously awaiting your arrival. But it's okay, because they're there to help you. Hell will be waiting. Quick message from our youngest daughter. Aubrey wanted to say, you may have received A's in high school and college, but you're going to be getting big D's in prison.
Her father, Steve, turned the podium sideways so he could face Bryan Kohberger directly and tore into him.
Today, we are here to finish what you started. Today, you've lost control. Today, we are here to prove to the world that you picked the wrong families, the wrong state, the wrong community. You tried to break our community apart. You tried to plant fear. You tried to divide us. You failed. Instead, your actions have united everyone in their disgust for you. I just learned from these lead investigators. They worked in an investigation and actually worked with Pennsylvania police officers and the federal FBI. You united everyone. Everyone was united after you. None of us are divided. We are united in our disgust and our love for these children. Today you have no name. Because when this all started, we all came together and we said, let's stop even talking about his name and just use initials. So even the media just calls you BK. That's all you are. Looking back when the police officers knocked on my door, my child told me what happened to Maddie Mae. I don't think he was even out of the driveway before my kids turned around and looked at me and said, what do we do, Dad? I told them, you get to work. You get your ass to work. And we started calling. We started texting, we started emailing, and you know what? Within hours, we had your white car on camera. We knew from the very beginning we had you. The police officers tell us within minutes, they had your DNA, like a calling card. You were that careless, that foolish, that stupid. Master degree, you're a joke, complete joke. But we took this disaster, and we did what we could. We put everything online. We took our kids, we took our images, videos, their photos, the girls' pranks, Ethan singing. We put it out there, we shared it with the world, and the world united. And all they ended up, when they talked about this case, is they talked about Kaylee Jade, Maddie Mae, Xana, and Ethan. Everything with these people, a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, we shared that with our community. And then we shared it with our state. We shared it with the country. And eventually we shared it with the world. The world's watching because of the kids, not because of you. Nobody cares about you. You're not worth the time, the effort to be remembered. In time, you will be nothing but two initials, nothing more than initials on an otherwise unmarked tombstone. From this moment, we will forget you. I'll leave in closing one last thing. You picked the wrong family, and we're laughing at you on your trip to Penn. That will be today or tomorrow. God bless all the men and women that worked on this case that you guys did. You guys allowed us to grieve and allowed us to get through this. The amount of work that you guys put together and the way that you guys put it together was beautiful. There was hard times to be expected. But thank you all. God bless.
His daughter, Alivea, Kaylee's older sister, delivered what most observers called the most powerful statement of the day.
I'm not here today to speak in grief. I'm here to speak in truth. Because the truth is, my sister Kaylee and her best friend Maddie were not yours to take. They were not yours to study, to stalk, or to silence. They were two pieces of a whole, the perfect yin and yang. They are everything that you could never be. Loved, accepted, vibrant, accomplished, brave, and powerful. Because the truth about Kaylee and Maddie is they would have been kind to you. If you had approached them in their everyday lives, they would have given you directions, thanked you for the compliment, or awkwardly giggled to make your own words less uncomfortable for you. In a world that rejected you, they would have shown mercy. Because the truth is, I'm angry. Every day I'm angry. I'm left shouting at the inside of my own head everything I wish I could say to you. The truth about me is when I heard the news, I didn't cry. I listened for them. I promised them I would. That I would fight for them. That I would show up no matter what it cost me. I swore I'd never let them feel alone. Because you see, I've always been their heavyweight. I've always been the one to fight the battles they didn't feel ready to fight themselves. All it ever took was a call, and they knew I would handle it for them, no matter the time, no matter the cost. They could wave their white flag because they knew I would never back down, not for them, and not even death could change that. Somewhere along the line, I started to think about what I would say to them if I was given just one last chance. If I could gather enough heartbreak or love or sacrifice or whatever it took to get just one message across, what would I say? Throughout this entire process, I've written my feelings down at every moment. My wishes, my love, my denial, my anger. And as one final act of love, I'd planned to read these thoughts, even jarring and discombobulating and not even making sense. Because for me, that was true love, as bare and as naked as it could be, not laced in pretty words or dressed for the occasion, but written through bleary eyes at 2 a.m. with clenched fists, angry at this reality. My true final act of love was to continue on without them, for them. That dream to read aloud my love to them, to bring meaning through pain, was the latest blow in realizing you don't deserve it. And Kaylee and Maddie don't need it. Kaylee and Maddie have always known my love, and they would never ask me to prove it by further victimizing myself to a defendant who has shown no guilt, no remorse, no apprehension. They would say to me, "Why would you give the satisfaction of showing vulnerability now? You promised you would never back down." I won't stand here and give you what you want. I won't offer you tears. I won't offer you trembling. Disappointments like you thrive on pain, on fear, and on the illusion of power, and I won't feed your beast. Instead, I will call you what you are: sociopath, psychopath, murderer. I will ask the questions that reverberate violently in my own head, so loudly that I can't think straight most any day. Some of these might be familiar, so sit up straight when I talk to you. How was your life right before you murdered my sisters? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your apartment? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling at this time. Why did you choose my sisters? Before making your move, did you approach my sisters? Detail what you were thinking and feeling. Before leaving their home, is there anything else you did? How does it feel to know the only thing you failed more miserably at than being a murderer is trying to be a rapper? Did you recently start shaving or manually pulling out your eyebrows? Why November 13th? Did you truly think your Amazon purchase was untraceable because you used a gift card? How do you find it enjoyable to stargaze with such a severe case of visual snow? Where is the murder weapon? The clothes you wore that night? What did you bring into the house with you? What was the second weapon you used on Kaylee? What were Kaylee's last words? Please describe in detail the level of anxiety you must have felt when you heard the Bearcat pull up to your family home on December 30th, 2022. Which do you regret more? Returning to the crime scene 5 hours later, or never, ever going back to Moscow, not even once, after stalking them there for months? If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? What's it like needing this much attention just to feel real? You're terrified of being ordinary, aren't you? Do you feel anything at all? Or are you exactly what you always feared? Nothing. If you're so powerful, then why are you still hiding, defendant? You see, I'm here today as me. But who are you? Let's try to take off your mask and see. You didn't create devastation. You revealed it in yourself. And that darkness you carry, that emptiness, you'll sit with it long after this is over. That is your sentence. And it was written on the wall long before you ever pled guilty. You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are. You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser. who thought you were so much smarter than everybody else, constantly scolding, turning your nose up to grammar mistakes, nitpicking and criticizing others. You wanted so badly to be different, to be special, to be better, to be deep, to be mysterious. You found yourself thinking you were better than everyone else, and you thought you could figure out the human psyche and see through it, all while tweaked out on heroin. Lurking in the shadows made you feel powerful because no one ever paid you any attention in the light. You thought you were exceptional, all because of a grade on a paper. You thought you were elite because your online IQ test from 2010 told you so. All of that effort just to seem important. It's desperate. There is a name for your condition, though. Your inflated ego just didn't allow you to see it. Wannabe. You act like no one could ever understand your mind, but the truth is you're basic. You're a textbook case of insecurity disguised as control. Your patterns are predictable. Your motives are shallow. You are not profound. You're pathetic. You aren't special or deep, not mysterious or exceptional. Don't ever get it twisted again. No one is scared of you today. No one is intimidated by you. No one is impressed by you. No one thinks that you are important. You orchestrated this like you thought you were God. Now look at you, begging a courtroom for scraps. You spent months preparing, and still all it took was my sister in a sheath. You work so hard to seem dangerous, but real control doesn't have to prove itself. The truth is, the scariest part about you is how painfully average you turned out to be. The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty. Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you mattered just because someone finally said your name out loud. I see through you. You want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your fucking ass. Thank you.
Through every word of it, Bryan Kohberger sat still, watching each speaker, expression unchanged. The Chapin family was not there, and that was deliberate. Jim and Stacy had said, ahead of time, that they had nothing to say to him. Instead, they spent the day out on their boat with Hunter and Maisie, celebrating Ethan. It was only the following week that Stacy posted anything publicly. She wrote, "We've given a lot of thought to what we should say since July 23rd and have edited this 1,000,000 times. The entire situation has been a tough pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, we believe the outcome is the right one. Most importantly, however, are the many people we want to thank, the true heroes in our lives. The Moscow Police Department, ISP, and FBI, who worked tirelessly on this case and spent time away from their loved ones. The prosecutors who openly communicated with transparency, answered every call and email, and were fantastic throughout this process. The University of Idaho staff who consistently supported our family, especially Maisie and Hunter, from their first day of orientation through graduation this past May. Our incredible extended family, friends, and the communities that continue to lift us up every day. They're our backbone, and we recognize how fortunate and privileged we are to have this ongoing support. All of the kids, close friends of the triplets, Greek family, and others who are part of this story from the very beginning. Although each of their experiences is different, all have suffered severe loss and trauma. We continue to be in awe of their strength and will continue to support them in any way we can. The media for providing us with opportunities to share our story while treating us with respect and care. Finally, thank you, Ethan. You were only with us for 20 years, but you touched the lives of so many people. From the time you were a baby to when we dropped you off at college, you were an absolute joy and the glue that held our family together. We remember your smile, your laugh, how you kept us in check, and the many ways you brought happiness and light to any situation. There will never be another you. There would never have been enough time with you. We love you, miss you, and promise to continue honoring your legacy. After hearing all the family statements, Judge Hippler asked the defendant if he wished to speak. Bryan Kohberger leaned towards the microphone and said that he respectfully declined.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, you have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
I respectfully decline.
Well,
From the gallery, someone called him a coward.
please.
Judge Hippler then delivered his own remarks.
During the quiet morning hours of November 13, 2022, a faceless coward reached the tranquility of 6 beautiful young people and senselessly slaughtered them. 4 of them. Who committed this unspeakable evil was unknown for several weeks, but due to the killer's incompetence and outstanding police work by numerous local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, the person that slithered through that sliding glass door at 1122 King Road now stands before the world and this court unmasked. This unfathomable and senseless act of evil has caused immeasurable pain and loss.
He spoke of the families, of parents who had driven their children to college with a truck full of moving boxes and brought them home in hearses instead.
No parent should ever have to bury their child. This is the greatest tragedy that can be inflicted upon a person. Parents who took their children to college in a truck filled with moving boxes had to bring them home in hearses lined with coffins. The loss this killer inflicted was not just the death of these people's children, siblings, grandchildren. As we've heard today, it has ripped a hole in their soul, destroying a special part of their very essence. Any person who is a parent defines themselves foremost as such. It is their existence and purpose of being, and it has been stolen from these parents. None of us have experienced the loss these victims have in the unspeakable way that they have, and therefore none of us can nor should we question the way in which they have handled their loss, whether that be in private mourning, removed as far as possible from this media circus, or in front of a camera demanding retribution with the loudest megaphone. I've listened intently to the stories and pain that have been shared today with great awe at the courage and resilience of the surviving family members of those wonderful children. I've listened also to the surviving roommates, both in person and through their friends, and I can't think of how frankly courageous they have been despite the hell that they have faced by uncaring people who have come up with all kinds of crazy theories about 2 kids simply being kids. The parents, siblings, and other family members who have spoken today are designated as victims in our legal system. But going forward, I hope that they can shed that label, as it gives too much power to the evil that condemned them to that role. They are and should be known as survivors, fighters, and foremost as witnesses to the tremendous lives of value and unbounded promise of these 4 young people. But those speaking today and those who did not speak, but who carry this same burden, this same loss, now carry forward the memories of these now perpetually young people, these forever children. These survivors carry the responsibility of ensuring that the voices of these children, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, are never forgotten, and the positive impacts that they have had on so many lives are never minimized, and that the love they shared, the light that they shined onto others, is forever celebrated.
And on the question that hung over everything, the why, he offered not an answer, but a release from the question, telling the room it was time, at last, to end Bryan Kohberger's 15 minutes of fame.
As we sit here today, this case is ending, and we are now certain who committed these unspeakable acts of evil, but we don't know, and what we may never know is why. I share the desire expressed by others to understand the why, but upon reflection, it seems to me, and this is just my own opinion, that by continuing to focus on why, we continue to give Mr. Kohberger relevance. We give him agency and we give him power. The need to know what is inherently not understandable makes us dependent upon the defendant to provide us with a reason, and that gives him the spotlight, the attention, and the power he appears to crave. Yet even if I could force him to speak, which legally I cannot, how could anyone ever be assured that what he speaks is the truth? Do we really believe, after all of this, he's capable of speaking the truth or of giving up something of himself to help the very people whose lives he destroyed? Rather, I suspect the so-called reason would be dished out in enticing, self-serving, and aggrandizing untruthful bits, leaving people wanting more information, more insight, and thus enhancing even further the power he seeks to hold. Even if we could get truthful insight into his why, I suspect it would not in any way quench one's thirst for actually understanding why in the first instance. Because there is no reason for these crimes that could approach anything resembling rationality. No conceivable reason could make any sense. And in the end, the more we struggle to seek explanation for the unexplainable, the more we try to extract a reason, the more power and control we give to him. In my view, the time has now come to end Mr. Kohberger's 15 minutes of fame. It's time that he be consigned to the ignominy and isolation of perpetual incarceration.
He then imposed the sentence. For each of the murders of Madison, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, the 4 terms to run consecutively. For the burglary charge, he received an additional 10 years, also to run consecutively. On top of the prison terms, he was ordered to pay fines and civil penalties totaling roughly $270,000, with restitution to the families still to be determined. And under the terms of the plea agreement, he waived his right to ever appeal any of it.
The great Idaho jurist Edward Lodge was known for trying to find something positive about every person he ever sentenced. And with over a half a century as a trial judge, that was a lot of people. This was often challenging, and I recall in one case he said that the best he could come up with was the defendant had good penmanship. Truth be told, I'm unable to come up with anything redeeming about Mr. Kohberger because his grotesque acts of evil have buried and hidden anything that might have been good or intrinsically human about him. His actions have made him the worst of the worst. Even in pleading guilty, he is giving nothing hinting of remorse or redemption, nothing suggesting even a recognition or understanding, let alone regret for the pain that he has caused. And therefore I will not attempt to speak about him further, other than to simply sentence him so that he is forever removed from civilized society. And accordingly, based upon his conduct and based upon the record before this court, recognizing the standards that govern this court's sentencing decisions as set forth in State v. Toohill, I hereby sentence Mr. Kohberger as follows. On count 1, burglary, 10 years fixed, 0 years indeterminate. I also impose a fine of $50,000. Count 2, first-degree murder of Madison Mogen. I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 3, for first-degree murder of Kaylee Goncalves, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the victim of the family, or to the family of the victim, pardon me. On count 4, for the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. On count 5, for the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, I sentence the defendant to a fixed term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a fine of $50,000, and a civil penalty of $5,000 payable to the family of the victim. The sentences on counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 shall run consecutively to one another. Restitution will be left open for 60 days. Defendant will be required to submit a DNA sample and a right thumb print impression to the Department of Corrections and comply with the DNA Database Act. I remand the defendant to the custody of the Idaho State Board of Corrections for to be imprisoned in an appropriate facility and execution of the sentence where he will remain until he dies. Though you have waived your right to appeal, you do have a right to file a notice of appeal, and any such appeal must be filed within 42 days of the date of the written judgment, which will be entered shortly hereafter. Though the appeal, you should be aware, may be deemed a violation of the plea agreement, and so I certainly suggest you discuss that with counsel if that is your desire. Again, thank you to everyone for your stories today. I am strengthened by them, and I am encouraged by your humanity and strength. And God bless you. We're adjourned.
Bryan Kohberger was admitted into the Idaho Maximum Security Institution outside Kuna, south of Boise, in the last week of July 2025. It is Idaho's only maximum security prison, home to roughly 535 of the state's most dangerous men, held behind a double perimeter fence, lined with razor wire and an electronic detection system. He is housed in J Block, a unit built for up to 128 inmates that holds everyone from general population protective custody to death row. In long-term restrictive housing, he is locked in a single-person cell roughly 23 hours a day, with 1 hour of recreation, showers every other day, and movement only in restraints. He is allowed access to religious services and can still communicate with the outside world through the prison's messaging system and place commissary orders. It did not take long for that isolation to turn hostile from the inside. Within weeks, reporting emerged that other inmates were taunting him through the vents, day and night. He complained to guards that they were threatening to sexually assault him, that his cell had been flooded, and that items had gone missing from his meal trays. He asked to be moved to a quieter wing of the prison. Later reporting through 2025 and into 2026, described continued friction with guards, and by early 2026, a formal request to be transferred out of Idaho's system altogether into another state's custody. As of the time of writing, in mid-2026, no transfer has been confirmed, and he remains in Idaho.
Has anyone reached out to you to tell you any information about how he's faring now, months after now that he's been locked away? Have you learned anything that, it's hard to say could feel good, but at least might feel like some kind of justice?
Yeah, I have heard that he isn't doing so well in that prison system that he's in the block that he's at. He's very adamant that he has rights in there that need to be respected. And I think he's starting to learn that, you picked the Northwest, you picked Idaho, you picked a place where we don't spend a lot of money on people that we throw the key away on. So, you picked their state, now you got to live it. You don't do the crime if you can't do the time. And he's going to be doing the time. And I've been hearing a lot about how the amount of noise that he's making in there isn't doing him any favors.
The civil courts, meanwhile, are still working. On the 7th of January, 2026, one parent from each of the 4 families filed suit against Washington State University in Skagit County Superior Court in Washington. The lawsuit alleges that in Bryan Kohberger's few months on campus, Washington State University received at least 13 formal reports describing stalking, cornering female students and staff in confined spaces, staring, and aggressive behavior. The complaints were serious enough, the filing says, that women on campus were getting security escorts because they were frightened of him, and one staff member told a colleague to email her the number 911 if she needed help. The university, the families argue, had the authority to investigate properly or remove him from campus, and did neither. Those are allegations, and Washington State University is contesting the case. It has since moved to federal court, where a trial has been set for the 13th of September 2027 in Seattle, expected to run 20 days. Just over a year after Bryan Kohberger told Judge Stephen Hippler he was guilty, he tried to take it back. On Sunday, the 26th of July, 2026, speaking by phone from the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, he told the New York Times that he wanted to be heard and that he had, in his own words, an absolute claim of innocence. It was the first public comment he had made on the case since his sentencing a year earlier, and in fact, the first since his arrest. He would not discuss the evidence. Asked about the specifics of what he was now claiming, he declined to go into any of it. Alongside the interview, his family provided the paper with a written statement. Here is what it said. Over a year later, it is self-evident that, in State versus Kohberger, justice was not served. Unanswered questions seem to multiply with each piece of discovery unsealed, and the public demands the truth. Unfortunately, the truth shall never be derived from the state's myopic narrative, a work of fiction which has yet to evolve, since the PCA was released nearly 4 years ago, and its faulty premises were never challenged at trial. Circumnavigated by a broken plea, the trial never provided the public the clarity conducive to closure, and justice shall remain abjectly miscarried unless that plea is withdrawn. I hereby declare my intention to enter a not guilty plea and welcome the state the opportunity to prove their case at trial, as well as to again file for the death penalty. My actual innocence is my truth, and the plea, hinged on by false promises and blatant disinformation, must be withdrawn. Thank you for all who believe in my innocence and continue to critically analyze the case. I send my love to my family, who have never wavered in their belief in who I am, their belief in my innocence. The following day, Monday the 27th of July, Bryan Kohberger filed a formal petition for post-conviction relief in the Ada County District Court, representing himself without a lawyer. He told the Times that that was the plan going forward. He intended to handle the whole thing alone. Unlike a direct appeal, which simply reviews the existing record for legal errors, a post-conviction petition opens a new, separate civil case, and it lets a defendant introduce claims or evidence that weren't fully explored the first time round. Attached to that petition was a handwritten affidavit sworn under oath. It reads, Bryan C. Kohberger, being first duly sworn on oath, deposes and says, "It is hereby declared that, during attorney-client discussions, most of which included all members of Bryan C. Kohberger's immediate family, petitioner was convinced to falsely confess to capital murder and felony burglary by coercion, disinformation, false promises, and the withholding of exculpatory discovery. The following is material to the inception of the plea. 1. Counsel's failure to inform petitioner of exculpatory discovery received during plea discussions, namely clumps of unknown hair found in Ethan Chapin's hands, as well as a failure of further inquiry. 2. Petitioner was convinced that actual guilt was not an important factor in considering plea acceptance. Death row was imminent, and advised to lie, petitioner was to gain a legal victory in entering a false plea. 3. A gross misrepresentation of and promises regarding what a life sentence would immediately afford petitioner, and a gross misrepresentation of death row in Idaho, including an elaborate fabricated story of counsel's horrific experience touring an actual 6x8 death row cell, all communicated to petitioner and his family, allegedly by IDOC through counsel, thus constituting threats and promises made to induce a plea agreement. He signed it, and beneath it, a separate certification. I certify under penalty of perjury pursuant to the law of the state of Idaho that the foregoing is true and correct. Stripped of the legal language, he was saying 3 things. First, that there was evidence which might have helped him, hair found in Ethan's hand that wasn't his, and his lawyers never told him about it. Second, that his lawyers told him it didn't matter whether he was actually guilty, that death row was coming either way, and that pleading guilty to something he says he didn't do would count as a win. And third, that they frightened him into it, that they lied about what life in prison would be like, and lied about death row, including, he claims, an invented story about one of them touring a 6x8-foot death row cell and finding it horrific. All of it, he says, designed to push him into signing. In short, he was claiming, I was lied to, I was scared, and I confessed to 4 murders I didn't commit. Under Idaho law, the bar for this kind of petition is unusually high. Because Bryan has already been sentenced, his case doesn't get the more lenient, fair and just reason standard that applies before sentencing. It falls instead under the Uniform Post-Conviction Procedure Act, which treats the petition as a civil action. The burden of proof sits entirely with Bryan Kohberger, judged by a preponderance of the evidence, and he has to show that leaving his conviction in place would amount to a manifest injustice, typically meaning proof that the plea was involuntary, that his counsel was constitutionally ineffective, or that prosecutors engaged in misconduct that changed the outcome. Working against him is his own sworn testimony at the July 2025 change of plea hearing, where he told Judge Hippler directly that he understood the agreement, was entering it voluntarily, and was pleading guilty because he was in fact guilty.
And Mr. Kohberger, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
As part of that same agreement, he also formally waived his right to a direct appeal, though that waiver doesn't fully close the door on a post-conviction claim. However, he did not stay unrepresented for long. On Monday, the 3rd of August, 2026, a Moscow attorney named Gregory Rauch was assigned to take the case over from him. Gregory Rauch is a private defense lawyer brought in through the Idaho State Public Defender's Office and its alternate counsel division, which exists for exactly this situation. The Public Defender's Office cannot represent a man whose central complaint is about the public defenders who represented him the first time. Under Idaho law, he had 42 days from sentencing to lodge a direct appeal, which he had already signed away, and once that window shut, he had 1 year and no more to bring a post-conviction petition. That gave him until roughly the first week of September 2026. He filed with 5 weeks to spare. Kaylee's mother, Kristi, said that deadline was precisely why the family had not been surprised. They had been waiting for something to land before September, and then it did. The claim at the center of the petition is the hair. It is worth setting out what the record actually shows. Before he wrote it in that affidavit, the phrase clumps of hair appeared in no police record, no laboratory report, and no filing by either legal team. It appeared in a book. Broken Plea was written by the retired FBI agent Christopher Whitcomb and published in May 2026. It examined why Bryan Kohberger had pleaded guilty and raised questions about hair recovered from the scene. Christopher Whitcomb has said in interviews since publication that to his knowledge, the hair was never DNA tested, but what it did get was 2 microscopic examinations. An FBI Trace Evidence Unit report, finalized on the 27th of January 2023, documented debris recovered from Ethan's right hand and from Xana's left. The laboratory compared that material under a microscope against Bryan Kohberger's own head hair sample and found nothing consistent with him. Brent Turvey, a forensic scientist who worked for Bryan's defense and examined the evidence in person in Moscow, put it plainly. The FBI excluded Bryan Kohberger, so it is not his hair. But an exclusion does not identify whose hair it is, and there was a second examination. Ruth Ballard, a DNA expert hired by Bryan Kohberger's own defense team, looked at one hair from Ethan's right hand and found it morphologically consistent with Ethan's own reference hair. The most likely explanation for hair in Ethan's hand is Ethan, though a microscopic comparison identifies a likeness, not a person. That finding appeared in a filing made by Ann Taylor, Bryan Kohberger's own lead attorney, on the 6th of June 2025, roughly a month before he pleaded guilty. Bryan Kohberger claims his lawyers never told him this evidence existed, but it was his own lawyers who put it on the court record. The families answered within a day, and they did not flinch. Kaylee's family, who had never wanted the plea deal in the first place, and had wanted a death penalty trial from the very start, described Bryan Kohberger as the mosquito you just can't seem to swat. Their statement pointed out that across 2 years of hearings and discovery, He had never once suggested he was uninformed or pressured, or that there was any problem with the evidence his own team had been sitting on. Not once until now. They suggested his real motive was simpler than justice, a break from solitary confinement and the attention back on him. They branded him a narcissist and said the real tragedy was how much energy was now going into freeing a guilty man when that same energy belonged to the 4 people he had killed. And then they said they were ready. Their statement read, "An actual trial this time, let's go. We are confident he will get the death penalty that he escaped by pleading guilty the first time around." Kaylee's youngest sister, Aubrey, who had been 16 when Kaylee died and had never spoken publicly before, gave her first interview. She said she was there because she had to be, to keep Maddie and Kaylee's names alive.
Why did you decide that now was the time to speak out?
Yeah, so when everything happened, I was a sophomore in high school. I was only 16 years old, and at the time, I kind of just decided that no words were going to bring back either one of my sisters, so I didn't feel like saying anything. And now that I've gotten older, you know, almost 4 years has passed, I realize still that no words are going to bring back my sisters, but words are what's going to keep their memories alive. And I'm not really one to put myself in a situation like this. I don't really like to, but I know that I have to keep Maddie and Kaylee's name alive, and that's why I'm here today. I think you could see exactly how Kaylee was as a person just by looking at pictures of her. She was like the bubbliest human ever. She was always down to have a fun time. She was always, you know, looking at the positives. She was one of the hardest workers I've ever met. And to this day, that is a huge thing that provides me with like a constant need to keep going, because I know that Kaylee would be doing the same thing had she still been here. And I really am just trying to do half as much as I know that she would have.
Idaho's Attorney General, Raul Labrador, said his office stood ready to do whatever is necessary to ensure justice is fully carried out, adding that the families had already endured unimaginable loss and now had to face what he called another deeply painful piece of news. The timing of all this was hard to miss. Just 2 days after Bryan Kohberger's statement to the Times, Netflix released its own 3-part documentary on the case, The Idaho Murders, College Nightmare, on the 29th of July 2026, landing squarely in the middle of the renewed news cycle his petition had created. It wasn't the first time a major streaming release found itself overtaken by the case's own timeline. The finale of Prime Video's One Night in Idaho, The College Murders, had to be rewritten just days before its July 2025 premiere, after Bryan's original plea deal was announced with almost no warning. Whether by coincidence or design, his attempt to reopen the case meant a major documentary about the murders arrived, while the story underneath it was still very much moving. A man who had been out of the news for a year was back on every front page in the country. The same week, 18 million people watched a series about him. But maybe it was all a ploy to keep himself in the headlines and buy himself another 15 minutes of fame. As of this recording, in early August 2026, no hearing date has been set. Bryan Kohberger has a new lawyer who is still reading into the case, and a petition that almost every legal expert who has looked at it expects to fail. Legal analysts speaking to CNN, Fox, and Newsweek in the days after the filing described his chances as highly unlikely, and the reason comes back to the standard. To get his plea undone, he has to prove manifest injustice, and he has to do it against a recording of himself, telling a judge, under oath, that he understood the deal, that nobody had promised him anything, and that he was pleading guilty because he was guilty.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Yes.
Nima Rahmani, a former federal prosecutor, laid out the one realistic route. If Ann Taylor and her team were to file a declaration admitting they misled their client or kept information from him, a judge might set the plea aside. Absent that, the attempt will likely fail and he will not get a trial.
I think there's almost no world where Bryan Kohberger walks free, even if he is entitled to withdraw his guilty plea, which I think is unlikely. I think he will be convicted and sentenced to death. The time for Bryan Kohberger to appeal a sentence has run. It's too late. all he can do is collaterally attack his guilty plea and conviction by filing a habeas petition. Habeas relief requires a constitutional violation. And unless Kohberger can prove that constitutional violation, his guilty plea will stand and he'll spend the rest of his life in Idaho State Prison. Even if you've pled guilty, even if you're serving your sentence, you can always seek habeas relief. That's what we're seeing in older cases like Scott Peterson, the Menendez brothers. It allows a judge to reconsider your case if the U.S. Constitution has been violated. So for Bryan Kohberger to unwind his plea, withdraw it, and to get a new trial, he has to show a constitutional violation. There are 4 possible constitutional violations that Bryan Kohberger can allege. The first is that his plea wasn't knowing and voluntary. The problem with that is the judge asked all the right questions. We all saw it live on TV. It was a knowing and voluntary waiver of his constitutional rights, including his 6th Amendment right to a jury trial. The second possible constitutional violation is if he's actually innocent. The problem with that is the state would never concede that, and there's plenty of evidence that he was the killer. There are 2 other possible constitutional violations, and I think this is the direction that Kohberger may be headed in. One of the victims had someone else's hair in their hand, and Kohberger is likely going to base his motion on that hair. The third possible constitutional violation is prosecutorial misconduct. If you're a prosecutor, you have to disclose any exculpatory evidence. That's called Brady material under a famous Supreme Court case. So obviously, a victim having someone else's hair in their hand, that's potentially exculpatory. So if the prosecution didn't disclose it, that's a potential violation and a grounds for him to withdraw his plea. The last potential basis is ineffective assistance of counsel. So if Bryan Kohberger's lawyers knew about this hair and didn't disclose it to their client and he pleaded guilty as a result, maybe, just maybe, the judge would unwind the plea. But that would require Ann Taylor and his defense team to actually concede that in open court or in a declaration that they knew about this evidence and didn't tell their client.
Ann Taylor's office has said nothing at all. As of today, Bryan Kohberger remains at the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, serving 4 consecutive life sentences. Whatever happens next, that is unlikely to change anytime soon.
If you had a message to the nation, right, what do you want people to know?
I would say that I'm not worried. I know that when the noise subsides, the conviction's going to remain the same. The defendant's going to remain behind bars and the truth will still stand. The defendant is a psychopathic narcissist who believes any attention is good attention. And I know that the only way to kill an ego like that is to starve it. And that is why I will never give him the attention he so desperately craves. And I pray that the public would start to do the same. He doesn't deserve a name, and he most certainly doesn't deserve a spot in people's brains. And I know that there's going to be people that are going to sit on their couches and come up with fictional stories that they have convinced themselves are real. And there's going to be people that think they've outsmarted police officers, the FBI and forensic analysts and everybody else that has devoted countless hours into investigating this case. And I know there's going to be people that are willing to exploit tragedy as long as the cost is paid by somebody else.
Whatever Bryan Kohberger is doing, and whatever happens to him next, he does not deserve the attention. It should be on 4 people, and on everyone who loved them. Weeks after the murders, Jake, Maddie's boyfriend, stood up in front of a grieving crowd and spoke about her publicly for the first time.
I'm Jake. I was Maddie's boyfriend. I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for being here, and just everybody involved in the investigation, helping, and everybody showing the unreal support. So I was Maddie's boyfriend, and she brought me closer to Xana and Kaylee. They always were amazing to be around. Just Xana was always so energetic and happy and a beautiful soul, and Kaylee was always so strong and driven, kind, and really genuinely cared about everyone. I didn't get the opportunity to meet Ethan too many times, but from what I had heard from Maddie and all the other roommates, he was also a really great guy and just Just none of these people deserve this. Maddie was the best at spreading love to all those that were close to her. Every time I talked to her on the phone, she would end the conversation with "I love you," and I would always say it back. She was always smiling and dancing and laughing, and she was really observant of things. She would point things out that she thought were cute, which was something usually pink or tiny. She always loved being comfy. Like if we're watching a movie or a football game or anything, she's got her comfy socks on, blanket, and was just always making the best of every situation. She was nice, she was funny, she was confident. Like she knew her worth. I had to work for her, it was worth it. So confident, she knew that she was beautiful inside and out, but she was also humble about it. She was the type of person that when she asked you how your day was, it was genuine, she really wanted to know. Like when I would talk to her, she could tell me about all of her friends and what they were up to. She was just always aware of everything. She was also, she was really funny. All her jokes really would come out of nowhere, and you'd have to do like a double take. Just be like, was that the cute little blonde girl that just said that? She would always express her love to everybody with words and hugs. She was really good hugger. Maddie was my best friend. She was the first person I talked to every morning and the last person I talked to before bed. But I was lucky enough to be able to explore life with Maddie for about 2 years. She was the one who knew me best, and she saw me at my highs and my lows, just helped me through everything. She was always there for me, just pushing me to be better and to spread positivity. I think that's what she wanted. She was the person that I loved the most, and she loved me the most too. I know she would want us to be strong and be as positive and happy as we can through this time, and just know that we have her watching over all of us. I know she's in heaven, and I can't wait to see her again and just give her a big hug. That's all I got. I love you, Maddie.
In early December 2022, Police Chief James Fry himself drove a U-Haul loaded with what remained of their lives out of that house.
We've had the crime scene for quite some time, and the family would like back some of those belongings. There's undoubtedly some sentimental issues, and I think it will help with a little bit of the healing, and we want to be part of that process. We want to help them. We don't want to keep holding on to items that really aren't needed for the investigation.
The house itself at 1122 King Road no longer exists. It was donated to the university and demolished a few days after Christmas 2023, and the hillside where it stood is now open ground. Across campus, students built the Vandal Healing Garden and Memorial, designed and constructed by the university's own architecture students, and was dedicated on the 21st of August 2024. 4 of its stones carry their names.
I understand that there's certain flowers out here that have colors that represent the people that this was built for.
Visitors are invited to leave a message for a lost loved one or just sit and reflect. Something Now Idaho grad Giacomatzi says he plans to do as often as he can.
And every single time I'm going to come back to campus, I will definitely walk through, just kind of remember.
In May 2023, at commencement, the university awarded all 4 of them their degrees posthumously to standing applause.
Finally, the University of Idaho awards posthumous degrees to students who have completed sufficient coursework prior to their untimely death. This is a moment for us to acknowledge the contributions of each student and a chance to celebrate their academic accomplishments with their families. During a private ceremony on Monday, we awarded a certificate in marketing to the family of Xana Alivea Kernodle. A certificate in recreation, sport, and tourism management will be delivered to the family of Ethan James Chapin in the coming weeks. In our morning commencement ceremony, we awarded a posthumous Bachelor of Science degree in business to the family of Madison May Mogen. Now we will present 2 bachelor's degrees. First, a bachelor's degree in general studies to the family of Kaylee Jade Goncalves.
Jim and Stacy Chapin created Ethan's Smile Foundation, which funds scholarships for students from his corner of Washington. Some of it is raised selling tulip bulbs, a flower called Ethan's Smile.
Tell us about him.
Ethan, he was truly one of a kind.
He was
kid.
an exceptional kid from the day he was born.
I mean, he just lived life to the fullest. He kept everybody in check.
And not just because he was 6'4".
No, not because he was 6'4". It's just that there was just a way about him, and he had a good message. You know, his message is just be yourself and have fun and do good for everybody.
You just miss him walking into a room and
Yeah.
giving you a hug and making some funny comment, and he was amazing.
Their surviving triplets, Hunter and Maisie, returned to the University of Idaho and finished what the 3 of them had started together. Friends and family of the 3 women founded the Made with Kindness Foundation in 2024, honoring Maddie, Kaylee and Xana with scholarships, self-defense classes, and mentoring for young women, and with days of celebration in their names: Maddie May Day, Kaylee Jade Day, Xana Palooza.
Angela Navejas shared these videos of her daughter Ashlyn Couch with Madison Mogen from A Happier Time.
Maddie was like a daughter to me.
She says her daughter and Maddie were best friends, and Ashlyn lived in the home on King Road until she graduated early in the summer of 2022, and Xana moved into Ashlyn's room.
I knew all the girls really well.
And she was devastated when she found out Maddie, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were brutally stabbed to death in that home more than 2 years later.
It's been really difficult.
Especially with all of the recent hearings and court documents coming out.
It's really hard, but I try to focus on the fact that we're doing something to honor and remember these beautiful girls.
That something is the Made with Kindness Foundation that Angela and Ashlyn started to honor Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie.
I can't imagine the pain that the families are going through, knowing the pain that I have, and I wasn't their mom, you know. I just knew that I needed to do something to not only help us, but maybe provide some love and provide something positive.
In May, the foundation will award 20 kids with $2,500 scholarships. They're also working on what's called the Kindness Club, which will provide different modules for college students. For example,
how women can stay safe when they're jogging on campus.
And reaching out to colleges and sororities to talk about how to make colleges safer. Last year, the foundation dedicated 2 plaques and 2 benches to the girls in a place they loved visiting, Coeur d'Alene Lake.
The summer of 2022 was the last picture I had with, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ashlyn, and we all went boating.
They're also now currently planning the second Make It Pink Gala.
June 13th this year, and it's going to be at the Hagedon Heck Center. Madison Mogen actually wanted to get married there one day.
Their legacy, made with kindness.
And I know that Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana are looking down, and they're so proud of what we're doing.
All of it, in the end, comes back to 4 people. Maddie, who ran the social media for a little Greek restaurant and lit up every shift, who was weeks from finishing her marketing degree. She was a wanderer at heart, mad about travel and photography, and a devoted music fan who loved the band, Train. She had an offbeat, slightly ridiculous sense of humor that made people laugh even when they didn't want to. She had surprised her mother once with a ring in 2 halves, one for each of them. Karen said, "You are my sunshine," and Maddie said, "My only sunshine." It was a song Karen had sung to her all her life. She still wears her half.
You describe her kindness as beyond.
Yes.
It's like everywhere she went, she brought light. That was just how she led, right? Tell us about that.
It is. So it was just surprising to me. So we were in Seattle one time, and I'm watching her as an adult going shopping and being in these stores, and I'm like, you're just so kind to everybody. Did we really ingrain that in you? That's amazing.
Her mother called her simply her best friend, and her father's last card from her said everything the world needed to know about how she loved.
You've known Maddie her whole life. Tell us, who is Maddie Mogen? Or as you call Maddie May, right?
Maddie May Mogen, yes.
She was the sweetest, smart, loving. She was the best. She never caused me one day of stress in my life. She was the best child I could have asked for, and we miss her so much.
Kaylee, who finished university a semester early because she was always 3 steps ahead, who had the job in Texas and the new car, and who came back that weekend just to show her best friend what was next. The middle child of 5, she was the one her older sister Olivia called the fairness fighter, the family's defender and protector, the sibling who stepped in when something wasn't right. She was planning a trip to Europe. Her family remembers her as relentlessly funny and impossible to talk out of anything, a girl who chased what she wanted and did not apologize for it. Olivia put it simply, if Kaylee wanted to do something, she was going to do it.
Kaylee was an amazing, beautiful person. She was so funny. Kaylee was, she was funny. She was very spontaneous. She loved to go. She was one that you could wake up in the middle of the night and be like, hey, come on, like pack your bag. We're going here or there. And she'd be like, seriously? Okay, give me a couple minutes.
She would have been here with all of her girls.
Oh yeah.
She would have loved this event.
She loved traveling. And matter of fact, Kaylee had a trip planned, a backpacking trip planned to Europe. And she was flying into Barcelona in January. After she passed away, and she was going with some friends, and I canceled that trip. She was very goal orientated. She wanted things in life, and she wanted that bag. She was going to get it, and the only way to do that was to work hard for it.
So somebody asked a question, said, what Kaylee say about this and what you guys are doing, and I really thought about it. I said, Kaylee probably said, you guys could do a little bit more. You guys should do this. There's like, she would have spurred us on, like, keep going.
Xana, who fought, who was awake at 4 a.m, laughing at TikToks and waiting for her food, 20 years old and utterly loved. She was a marketing major, a Pi Beta Phi, and a post-falls girl like Maddie and Kaylee before her. She had her own dog, Shoeshine, a weakness for electronic dance music, and a habit of dragging her sister and father along on trips just to have them close. Her sister Jazzmin said you rarely get to meet someone like Xana. Light-hearted, funny, loved by everyone who met her, and always the one who lifted a room. At her high school graduation, she decorated her cap with 6 words that read differently now than they did then, for the lives that I will change.
Xana was such a light in my life and so many others. She was the person I could relate to the most, and she knew and understood me more than anyone. She was so positive and lighthearted and understood the gift of life more than anyone I know. She was my baby sister, but she was so much wiser and experienced so much more in life than I ever have. She never let an opportunity pass her by and enjoyed all the moments she had. I know she loved living in her house in Moscow with her friends. I would hear so many stories about her and her roommates, and it made me so happy to know she had such great friendships. They were always so happy, and the way she would talk and smile about him was something I've never seen her do before. She truly loved him so much, and I know he had so much love for her. They had something so special, and everyone around them knew. Xana, you will not be forgotten. You have impacted so many lives and have given people so much love. I hope I can make you proud and try to leave an impact on this world and on people like you did.
And Ethan, who was simply staying the night with the girl he adored. He was the first of the triplets into the world, born at 4:43, Maisie a minute behind him, Hunter a minute behind her, and he spent the rest of his short life the same way he started it, right in the middle of the people he loved. The 3 of them did everything together, Conway School, then Mount Vernon High, then Idaho, where they all rushed and joined Greek life the same year. He played basketball with his brother wearing number 30, and he refereed youth basketball as a teenager, patiently coaching kids half his size. He worked summers in the tulip fields, where one of the boys who worked alongside him said there was simply nothing bad about him. He loved country music and the NFL. His fraternity brothers liked to joke that he had almost perfect attendance at an 8 a.m. math class, which, for a college sophomore, is its own kind of miracle.
I have never met someone who's so, universally loved. Everyone liked him. He was just, the happiest person to be around. Everyone wanted to be around him.
He's the coolest guy you'll ever meet. That's about it right there.
He was a really big, funny, happy guy.
When someone would walk in the room, not just me, anybody, he would welcome you into the room. He was always very kind in everything that he did. He always would call me Gussie Gus in his little raspy voice.
You know, emotionally, always there for people.
One of my favorite memories with him was my apartment flooded one night after a big party because there was all sorts of plumbing problems with it. It's an old house. Went over to Xana's and I was hanging out with the two of them and we just talked for like hours and hours. And Xana made us grilled cheese sandwiches and Ethan and I are just sitting there talking. So that's one of like my most like cherished memories with him. You know, like I think back to that night a lot and I try to focus on nights like that rather than the sad ones when it comes to E.
None of them saw this coming because there was nothing to see. They hadn't made an enemy. They hadn't ignored a warning. They hadn't crossed anyone. They were 4 young people in the middle of building the rest of their lives, asleep in a house a stranger walked into for reasons he has still never given. That's the part of this story that's hardest to sit with. It could have been any house on that street, any 4 students in that town. That it wasn't is nothing but chance. If there's a single thread of mercy anywhere in this story, it's this. None of them was alone at the end. Kaylee and Maddie were together in the same bed, the way they'd shared a room since they were kids. And despite everything Xana went through in those final minutes, she ended them back in her own room with Ethan. Whatever happens next with this petition, whether nothing comes of it at all, or whether it ends in a new trial and a death sentence, I hope the families get the outcome they need. And I hope that one day, whenever that is, they're finally allowed to stop fighting and just grieve. As always, my heart goes out to their families, their friends, and to everyone in Moscow who lived through this. And as always, rest in peace, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Stratton Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Thanks so much for listening to True Crime with Ellie Mack, with me, Ellie Mack. And a special thanks to our members who you see on screen now. Your support means so much and really helps keep the channel going. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, a rating and a follow really help the show grow. See you next time.